time with you here.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm telling you, Sundays are great. Speaking of which, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday live stream. We are joined as ever, Jerry V. Hall, sitting in to talk about macro, rate cuts, stablecoin rails, and some D.A.N potential plays. Keeta. Jerry, welcome. How you doing, buddy?
Hello, Rob. And hello, everyone, and welcome to another Sunday live show.
Another Sunday live show. Blah, blah, blah. Here we go. Let's do it. Jerry, you look good today. I like that shirt. You're looking sharp. Looks like you've been working out. You lost some weight or something?
I'm following your advice. I'm doing my max out body exercise at least once a day, and one exercise I'm taking it all the way to the max. And if it's having an effect on my appearance, yay. I can tell you it's definitely having an effect on how I feel.
So that's a bigger thing, right?
And that's more important than any of the other stuff.
Yeah. A healthy person has 1,000 wishes. A sick person only has one. If you don't have your health, what do you have? So I got to agree. But so Jerry, you're looking good. I'm glad it's working out for you. Let's go over to the macro stuff and then we'll drill down into it. So the first thing we're talking about, this is on the tip of everybody's tongue right now, which is rate cuts. And since you're more of the guy for macro than me, it's just good to get your opinion. So we've got a meeting coming up, Fed Reserve, Jay Powell, still in charge until May. And we're looking at a rate cut of roughly 90%. So here's the question for you. And we can go over the rates, how that has affected things, because it looks like sometimes when we have a little rate cut, we have a little bit of a down piece, and then we go back up. But right now, looking at this, where do you see us as far as the rate cuts for 70th of September? What about October? Could we still get a 25 basis point cut, or maybe a 50 in October or December, or hell, I'll throw it out there, maybe even September, and why? So let's just dive into it. Where do you think we're going?
I do have an opinion on this, and it might be somewhat contrarian in that I think there's a very real possibility that we don't see a rate cut at all this year in the calendar year 2025. And the reason why I say that is I have been looking at post black swan type elements and how the Fed reacts and how it kind of, they get out of their little schedule, their little routine, right? Generally, the Fed is responsible for the most part in manipulating liquidity cycles, right? At the end of the day, that's kind of their job, and they do that so that they can affect certain elements of the economy based off of what they believe is best for the country. The jury's out on whether that's actual or not. So when I look at the way that they dealt with the absolute tsunami of M2 money supply that came in from the COVID interactions and COVID responses, they made it very clear very early, and I didn't believe that they would. They were going to hold their ground, right, on not jump starting another liquidity cycle, right? They were like real, and I was like, okay, I get it. You there's a, everybody's balance sheets are absolutely bloated with all this garbage, right? That's basically garbage.
Yes.
And then in a normal cycle, a lot of the bad actors and the things that don't hold value get washed out, right? And I think that's what they were holding their ground for, right? We're going to wash out a lot of these things that soaked up a lot of liquidity, but don't have any real value. And what we're seeing is that didn't really happen. There's still a lot of very bloated balance sheets.
Sure.
So I'm not convinced that we'll see a rate cut this year. And if we did, it would be of the very minor version, like a quarter point.
Basis points.
And that might be it for the calendar year 2025. So this liquidity cycle that many of us in this space were hoping for to jumpstart the quote unquote altcoin season or Bitcoin to $250,000 March, I don't know if that's going to happen in 2025. And so I'll tell you what I'm doing as a result of that. I'm allocating my normal DCA minus 15%, and I'm just starting to develop a small cash balance so that I have money to deploy in December at the end of Q4 when people get really distraught and they're like, oh man, the liquidity cycle didn't happen, my assets didn't pump, but I need money, I'm going to sell off. And that happens all the time. People are constantly trying to figure out how to balance their books at the end of the year, how they're going to pay taxes for whatever, how they're going to afford Christmas, all of these things, right? And so it'd be nice to have a little stockpile of cash, not a ton, but some for the end of Q4. And so that's what I'm doing based off of my thesis.
Okay. So man, me and Jerry, today we cannot be further apart. This is great. This is why I love having you on, because it's good to hear another opinion. So for me, there's a dual mandate with Jerome Powell and the Fed Reserve, right? Mm-hmm. And the mandate is, look, we got to cut this inflation, which we know it's going up, but it's hitting expectations, but it's still going up. And we got a problem with that. However, and we take a look at this, if you take a look at true-flation, it's actually below 2% already. And some people say, who cares about true-flation? Because that's not what everybody else is looking at. It's not what Jerome Powell is looking at. That's not what the institution's looking at. I go, I understand that. But if you take a look at true-flation, it's kind of like where things are going because they have more updated data as opposed to the Federal Reserve. And of course, we get information from the government that is just wildly inaccurate. And we saw that with the jobs report. If they would have had the jobs report in their hands, the correct one, they would have already cut 25 basis points. So, okay, so we have inflation, and we don't want to be in 1970, the Volcker, or actually it was Burns era for the Federal Reserve chair. We don't want inflation to go out of control, and then we lose sight of the economy and everything kind of spirals down. There's that part. But the other part is the jobs market. The jobs market we know is very weak. And I think it's getting weaker. And there's some anecdotal evidence, not just anecdotal. I mean, there was jobs reports that came in. They're way underbalanced. We've actually seen the initial jobs come in and say that there's more people for claims. And then, of course, there's this underlying tone that's going on with AI and these companies. And I think Meme said it very eloquently, which is they don't know what's going to happen with the tariffs. So why the hell would they be hiring right now? So there's a big problem with the jobs market. And I think if you're Jerome Powell, you got two options here. Again, I'm not the macro guy. You're like, look, we could step in, we could say the jobs market, start cutting rates, and then these companies can actually start to borrow more at a lower APY. Or we can say, you know what, we're really more concerned about the inflation at this point, and we're not going to cut rates. And I hate Donald Trump anyhow, and it'd be a good stick to the man type of move right before he fires me in May. So yeah, turn the screws. I still think he's going to cut, and we'll see where it goes from. And then in Q4, and if he does cut, the bigger question is 25 basis points enough? Could they go to 50 basis points? And again, that's wildly away from what you were saying, Jerry, which I get. But if they do 50 basis points, we're going to have a great, robust market in traditional sense for a very finite amount of time. If they do that, we're going to pay the price later. There is something that we have to pay down the road, and that's going to be inflation. And people will say, well, we can grow our way out of it. Hey, I sure hope so. But if that's the case, I think we're going to see that the market will do well. It's just that, 6, 12, 18 months on the road, I think we're going to have some problems unless they do something else. Jerry, what do you think about that assumption? Oh, and lastly, I think if they do that, Q4 is going to be pretty great historically.
I'll tell you what, if they do what you said, we will have a gangbuster Q4. However, here's one of the things, and it's always important to understand where things come from, right? Inflation generally is caused by more money chasing the same amount of goods and services. More money in the supply chasing the same amount of goods and services, right? So when supply is higher and demand stays constant, inflation. Okay, so if that is true, basically, then you need look at how is money created. It's created through debt issuance, right? What is that? Is there more debt being issued than not, right? Are we trending towards more debt being issued? If you look at car loans, if you look at home loans, if you look at business loans, right? Commercial, these are all still trending upward, right? Which is a knock-on effect, right? There's downstream effects to this of capital in the marketplace.
That's right.
i.e. inflation,
i.e. inflation. That's true. And it's, like you said, it's the same money or more money chasing the same amount of goods and services.
Yeah.
And of course, there's been different politicians that had told me that, no, it's the greedy corporations. And they told me that for years. And I was like, that makes sense. And the only time you really understand it is when you get into Bitcoin and digital assets. You're like, oh, that's a total lie. Wow. Lied to me for years. Okay.
Which we have a lot to give thanks to for those Austrian economists and those early gold bugs that understood tying value to a commodity, right? Tying value to economy, and economies have been centered around commodities for years, whether it be wheat, food, animals, what have you, things that you need to live.
Yeah, exactly. So real quick, let's go over this about the rate cuts. Just want to back up this information with a little bit of data. This is me stealing information from Ben's website into the Cryptoverse. You want to check it out? There's a link in the description, 10% off the first month. But like Jerry was saying, there's a direct correlation, right? And once we see that the Fed starts cutting rates, you start to see that, and we're overlaying this with the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is not the economy.
No.
The markets are not the economy. But the people that are there's the haves and the have-nots, they will point that and say, the economy is great. No, it's not how it works. But it really does stimulate the markets, which is where we are all into. Whether you're in traditional markets or in digital asset markets, doesn't matter. We can go all the way back to the 80s. And we're going to see that when we had rate cuts, and this is back in 83, the target range, and imagine this, 8.5%. I remember these days. This was like normal times, 8%, all right, 10%, 12%, 13%. And we can just see as we go forward, then when they started to raise rates, what happened to the blue line there, the S&P 500, you start to see things go down because they're like, hey, we have a hard time borrowing, rates are increasing, Fed's going to keep going, and then off it goes. But then look at this. From 84, was this Reagan era, Jerry?
Absolutely.
Yeah, the good times, the Big Gipper. So we can see here that as they start to cut rates, what happens to the S&P 500? Of course, it raises up. And then, of course, we can also, if you really wanted to do this, and we can overlay this with the M2 money supply, it's the same thing. So if you get M2 money supply increasing, which it is increasing now, United States and globally, and if we take a look at what the rates are doing as they cut the rates, that's what's going to be great for the market. And again, inverse correlation, right? So we come all the way up. Actually, this did pretty good. And then when we started to cut rates, look what happened to the market, S&P 500. This is going into 1993. And then, of course, they hit a little peak. And then what happened? Look at that. They hit a peak, and then they start raising, inverse correlation, right? And then up and up and it goes. Sometimes there's a little bit of lag, like right here. They drop, go here, flat. Sometimes flat's just fine. Then they drop rates again, and it goes up to crazy amounts. And then from 99, you can see that they raise rates, it dropped a little bit. They're like, we'll eat that. Then come here. And then what happened, Jerry? What happened in 2000? Why are we looking at this and the rates are dropping, but so is the S&P 500?
It was the COVID crisis, right?
No. Sorry. Yeah, that's 2020. Sorry, this is 20th of January 2001. I think this was the dot-com bubble burst.
Correcto.
All right. And then, of course, once we get recession, which is this gray part, Fed's like, man, maybe we messed up. Time to start cutting rates. And it just happens over and over and over again. And then, of course, once they drop so much, then they have to raise rates, goes flat, then they drop rates because they're in a recession. Remember 2008, 2009, the Great Recession, the housing market. And then they don't do anything, and the markets do great. So off and off we go. And that's the S&P 500. But if we want to overlay this with Bitcoin, it's the same thing. And this is the big thing that we talk about with rate cuts, is that Bitcoin it cares, but it still doesn't care. It's increased massively with pretty much being flat rate cuts. It's done great even when they're raising rates. Look at this. In January 2017, they were raising rates from nothing, 0% target rate, all the way up to, what is this, 1.2, almost, 1.5, 1.75. And it would still go up. But then they kept raising rates, and then.
Yeah, but yet you have, if you're going to really try to make sense of this, you have to overlay an adoption curve.
Okay.
This is not we're not talking about rice futures, something that is at a market. You know what I mean? Something that's at a market for 100 years. We're talking about something that is on an adoption curve it's that whole supply demand thing, right? When only 5 people are in the market, those 5 people are doing their thing. But when all of a sudden there's 10, 15, 20, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, million, multiple, you know what I mean? These monstrous adoption curves. And that's what Bitcoin went through and is still kind of going through with this chart that you're in right this second at this period of time of the chart.
Yeah. And it was, you know what? It's a good point. And we can't oversimplify it. We have to take a look at it. I think that's a bigger thing, which is, even though we all get it, we all understand Bitcoin and some altcoins that are doing well, we think that everybody else gets it. That's one of our,
yeah, that's our. People don't even understand money, Rob. They don't know how money comes into existence. They don't understand it. I didn't for 50 plus years of my life. I didn't understand. I just made it and spend it, and hoped that I would have enough to make it through my life.
Yeah, that's like that meme. Cool story. Did you catch the game last night? Yeah, great. And that's pretty much it. So we can just go through this, and then towards in 2017, this is when we had Bitcoin futures, and they shorted the hell out of it. So congratulations to those guys. And then we go up and down, back and forth. And now if we jump forward, 2020, we had coronavirus. We were cutting rates. Everything was good. It was flat. And then right around here, and people will point to this and say, well, this is the inverse relation. Once they start to cut the rates, then the price of Bitcoin goes down initially, and then it blasts up. I don't think that was the issue. Here, everybody was freaking out because of coronavirus.
Yes.
And but it didn't last too long. I mean, from February to March, and then when they turned the money printers on, which they did massively, that's all you really need to know. And then they cut the rates. So right now, again, it's the same thing going on. We have rates getting cut. Well, that's what I think. Jerry doesn't think that. And we also got massive M2.
You and Tony agree.
What's that?
Tony's thinking 325 bit.
Oh, I think, yeah. Well, let's hope Tony's, actually, does it really, think about it this way, Jerry. Is it really a big thing if we do get rate cuts? Obviously, for the short term. Let's say we don't, and everything goes down.
That aren't Bitcoin or real estate? I think so. I think it matters for all the assets that aren't real estate or Bitcoin. Real estate and Bitcoin, I think, are going to continue because they're real hard assets.
Right.
They're real. I mean, there is utility in them for what they represent. All those altcoins, you know, thousands upon thousands of projects, they need a liquidity cycle or some kind of adoption cycle. So either they need a killer app that gets, you know, 1 billion users, or they need a liquidity cycle to just flush their ecosystem with investment capital, speculation capital, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and I think if you don't get investment capital, then you can't increase the amount of jobs that open. If you don't increase the jobs that open, then you have people that have no income, and they have to live off the government if the government's going to do that route. And then there's a somewhat of a miniature collapse, and then it just kind of spirals out of control. So yeah, I think it'd be great to get the rate cuts, and I think actually they should do that. To me personally, I'd rather deal with the inflation. It's like kicking the can down the road. We'll deal with that later. Let's just shore up all the problems that we have here and start printing money like crazy. I know some people say that's not the right way to do it, but it's probably what J-Pow's going to do. We'll see. Anyhow, anything else, Jerry, before we go into the stablecoin part?
Let's go.
This is my favorite. So, and nobody... And stable coins are not a sexy topic, but again, the rails that they are built on are. And this was from Whale Insider. It's a good follow. Talks about stablecoin supply in ETH just hit a new all-time high of $172 billion. And I usually take a look at DeFi Llama and also the Visa as they track all the stablecoin chains and volume. But there's another one. I want you everybody to take a look at it. It's artemisanalytics.com. Artemis, A-R-T-E-M-I-S, analytics.com. It's a free site. And we can just see here, stablecoin active addresses. These are the stablecoins that are the majority. And if you just take a look, it's all Tether and USDC. I know some people will say, well, what about PayPal USD? And this is just for July, like PayPal USD and USD1 and BUSD. It's nothing. It's trinkets. USDT or Tether and USDC account for 93% of the market as far as stable coins. And I think they still will continue on. Why is that important? It's because when we take a look at this, active addresses by chain, it's always the same thing. BNB, Tron, oh, look at that, Polygon, Solana, Ethereum base, and Arbitrum. So it's either Ethereum and a layer 2 or Tron and BNB and some Solana. So I know I have this thesis to invest into those rails, and I think it's going to continue on this way. But Jerry, what do you think about these as far as like the rails and the stable coins? Good investment, or like you don't really get into that part?
I don't know. I think if you're somebody that looked at the gold rush and thought, maybe 1 in 10 miners actually made any money, but 9 out of 10 store owners who sold the picks and shovels to the miners made money, it may not be a bad idea to get involved in infrastructure that is going to be around for a while. And it's obvious to see the digital wave is obviously encapsulating value exchange. So why not be a part of those projects that are facilitating that exchange of value? And I thought you showed something wonderful in your video yesterday when you had that really long Indigo video.
Oh.
One of the things you opened with was stablecoin, fees, right?
Right.
And how those top couple of projects, that was serious money. Yeah. I mean, that is serious money just in the fees of the stable coins. This is only going to get more, right? Eventually, these products will be ubiquitous in the economies eventually. Right. And so why not be a part of the infrastructure that facilitates that?
Yeah, this is the big thing. And this is what we have now. And imagine, I mean, we just got the Genius Act months ago. Imagine what this is going to look like in a year's time, 5 years, and 10 years.
It's not sexy. It's not the new AI app that could potentially change the world, but it is absolutely going to be one of those products that allows the facilitation of what we've all grown up around, the exchange of value, to become ubiquitous in the digital domain.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well said. I couldn't say any better. So yeah, these are the things that we take a look at, and these are the safe plays, I think. And we take a look at Bitcoin. Obviously, it's the one that's been around. I personally think it'll be around for decades. I don't know about my altcoins, but I think Bitcoin will do pretty well. So we go from that to the rails of stable coins. Again, very safe. Now let's go all the way to the other side, Jerry, and be a bunch of degens, because it's fun.
Okay, let's do it.
Everybody, this is not financial advice. This is where it gets a little shaky. And what we're taking a look at today is Keeta. And this is ranked 203. And why am I talking about Keeta?
Oh, well, 7,710%.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's because this project paid me 2 Bitcoin to talk about it. And of course, if they're going to pay me, I'm going to talk about it. I'm just kidding. They didn't pay me anything. But DMs are open if they want to. Keeta, so this is a layer 1 solution on Base. And I do like this one thing about CoinGecko, where it's doing this thing now where it's overlaying major headlines, which will kind of help you understand why price action did what it did. So like on this one, this was back in May 31st. What happened here? Keeta token shows price increase. Keeta token is reported up 25% of the past week. 12% is recent low, occurring after testnet concerns, according to a source. And then let's see, how do I get out of this one? Then like the next one here, Keeta bounces on whale accumulations. Keeta has plunged by 26% after an analyst falsely claimed that its testnet was fake. First of all, what is Keeta? Well, I learned about this the first time on chainspec.app. And it's a great website. You can check it out. It's free. And it breaks down real-time TPS, or max transactions per second, max theoretical, and transaction volume, block time, and finality. And ICP is number one. Real-time TPS, 983 transactions per second. All right, let's redo this. Oh, that is it. Solana is number two, 918. Taraxa, I don't know what that is. BNB, and so on and so forth. Max theoretical, again, just theoretical, because we haven't hit these numbers. 25,000. Solana, 4,700. And of course, people will tell you, but Rob, the max theoretical per 100 blocks and whatever else, you got 65,000. Anyhow, there's a ton of data. It's just theory. And I saw this. What is this? Keeta, when it was listed in the beginning. Real-time TPS is 0.04 transactions per second. Why is that? Well, it hasn't hit its mainnet yet. Theoretical, 10 million transactions per second. Block time, 0.54, and finality is like 400 milliseconds. So why am I talking about this? Well, there's an increase in price action. So I thought this was interesting. It's ranked number 204. 24 hours, it's only done 6 million in volume. Keeta price just got a Coinbase listing. And sometimes there's a Coinbase bump on that. Take that as you will. Right now, if you want to buy Keeta and want to look at the markets, just go to CoinGecko, click on markets. It'll tell you which ones they're at. Aerodrome, again, I think that's going to be a big one on the for this cycle. And then also, where did oh, there it is. Kraken, my favorite. And then also on Uniswap, xt.com. And then you can take a look at the volume and so on and so forth. Pancake Swap, a bunch of dexes. So it's not listed very many places, certainly not very big exchanges. And even with that, it's still ranked 203. All right. So what's going on here? Price action, whatever else. Keeta jumped after Tai Shank, its founder, made a big announcement about its tokenomics. He said the early investors and team allocations would be combined to create strategic reserves, comprising 400 million tokens, currently valued at 400 million. This product is backed by Eric Schmidt, former Google CEO. Keeta aims to be the fastest blockchain in the crypto industry, capable of handling over 10 million transactions per second. Yeah, we'll see. And you can follow Tai here on his X account. So I take a look at this, I'm like, okay, this is positive news. It's a very risky play. It's going to be listed on Coinbase, and there's very few right now, but once it goes on Coinbase, it has a lot of liquidity. Jerry, what do you do with this information? You personally?
Buy $500 worth of tokens and see where I can stake it and just sit back and do nothing.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. That's like the Stanley Druckenmiller type of play, right? Like
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Invest first and do your due diligence later. Now, if you do something like that, just know that because I'm talking about it, means it'll probably go to zero. Just telling you. But it looks like something could happen with this one, or it could collapse. Either way, I just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention, see where things are going. Anyhow, that would be the Keeta play. But just so you know, as far as like tokenomics, not so great right now. Total supply is 1 billion. Circulating supply is 419 million. What does that mean? You got roughly 500 million that needs to be unlocked. And if that gets unlocked, who do you think that goes to? Probably some VCs. Unless, like they talked about here, where they're going to actually combine it and lock it up.
400 million is going to become a treasury, it looks like.
Yeah, if it's a treasury, then there are provisions about how much they can sell.
Right.
So token allocation, this is pretty good. Community and ecosystem, 50%. Okay. Team gets 20%. Hopefully they don't dump on you. Early investors, that's the tough one, 20%. And the treasury is 10%. So these guys are the ones that you have to watch out for. I don't know the emission schedule, I don't know how it gets unlocked. This is just the information I have. You can probably take a search for that for the white paper. Let's see. Transactions fee governance, network features, 10 million TPS, base network. If it's base network, it's going to be super fast. The question I have is who's going to adopt it? And is this going to actually be a big thing? Anyhow, that's it for today. Just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. So I still think we have some major upside. We'll see what happens on September 17th. We'll see if Jerry's right or if we're right or who's right, and we'll see what the market does. But that's it for this Sunday. If you want to stick around, we'll do a little Q&A, and Jerry will answer all your questions, and I'll just feed into him. And we'll go from there. Farrar says, if it wasn't for Rob, I wouldn't know about half these coins that go to zero. Exactly. Don't listen to me. How many awful tokens have I talked about over this time frame? Oh, many. So, exactly. Although I mean, I did talk about some basic ones that did pretty well. It just depends on when you got in and got out. Joseph says Keeta doesn't talk a lot lately. I had to pick some Keeta up. And then, this is a good point from Alex. It's not just rate cuts that's needed. We're still missing the important bit for all altcoins to run. New, fresh retail. But where is that coming from? Retail is here, but it's broke and has PTSD. Jerry, thoughts?
Well, I mean, okay, so let's say he's 100% correct. What would new retail spend with, right? What if there's only two ways that's going to happen? Education. So we bring in new retail through education. Is there anybody doing any major education to educate people besides YouTubers like yourself? No. Yeah. No country has got financial literacy in its curriculum. Therefore, where the only place that's going to drive retail is through a liquidity cycle. When the price goes up, that draws people in. It gets their attention. It's not from education. It's from the mechanism of liquidity.
Right. Price go up.
And so now we're back to that same how we opened the show. What's going to happen? Are we going to get a macro event to jumpstart that? Yes or no?
Oh, that's the big thing.
Yeah.
Here's a question right for you, Jerry. Jerry, what do you think about Tau and its proof of intelligent model?
I am staking it. I did very, very well. It's again one of those projects. I put an investment. I found the ability to stake it, and I'm just compounding my rewards it went way up. I mean, I did hugely successful on Tau, on BitTensor. I love it.
What other AI plays are you doing?
Believe it or not, Akash, FET, Hypercycle. I've got some Singularity Net. I even got a few of the compute stuff. They're not necessarily AI plays, but new net. Obviously, I'm banking on it with the creation of Compute Portal. I think compute is going to be huge, whether it's for the Internet of Things or for AI or what have you. I think it's going to be a commodity very similar to oil in that everybody's going to use it for something. There's all different ways that it's going to get used.
Hey, any updates or for you on the AI projects?
Let's say we're building. We're a lot of really positive things are happening in the background, but nothing that's so newsworthy. We should beep. This just in. You know what I mean? We'll hold off until I've got something concrete.
Okay, sounds good. Let's see what else we have. Joe says Google's working on a layer 1. I believe so. And then me personally, like we talked about with Circle, they're building their own layer 1. And the reason why, as they said, is we have institutional clients that really can't deal with the volatility of the rails that these are built on. They're not going to keep dealing with this massive fluctuation of prices. We're going to build a centralized layer 1, and we're going to use that for our institutional clients that want to do that. And then, of course, if you retail other different companies and you want to deal with the decentralized aspect of it, which of course is a better way if for certain aspects, especially for safety, then you can just keep doing that. And people say, well, this is the end because everybody's going to choose this centralized aspect. And I tell people, no, there is, I mean, globally, you're taking a look at a quadrillion market cap of payments and infrastructure and things like that. On one side, you'll have institutions that will go for that and they really want it. The other ones will want a little bit more open, especially with the retail and people paying and using services all over the world. And there's plenty of aspect to go around. So if Google's working on a layer one, great, let them do it, let them try it, and just see if they can get it to work. I still say that we have a long way to go. Anyhow, Jerry, what do you think about it?
I think you're right, but isn't it cool, Rob, from where we come from in like 2017 when I got introduced to this whole space and started to learn about what money was, understanding how everything was an IOU to the transition to actual settlement, right? That beautiful technology advance. We don't even talk about the wonder of that anymore, but that is the single driver to who's gonna be the winner. We know it's going to be settlement, right? Because there's too much inefficiency and cost in the IOU mechanism of digital transfer of value. Well, that is a nail in the foundation to solidify that these rails are what this new financial infrastructure is going to be built on. IOUs are done. They're a dying technology.
So no more, you think?
I think our children's children will not live in a world where value is IOUs are what the economies are built on. It's going to be settlement, final settlement of value at point of sale or point of transfer. I believe that 100%. There's no question in my mind.
We'll see. That sounds good. Okay, here's another one. This is a nuanced question. Hey, Rob, what happens if TANGEM nodes go offline? Can you use the device with other software wallets? If not, you wouldn't be able to use TANGEM cards without TANGEM nodes. That's a serious flaw. So this is actually answered in my video where I talk about TANGEM. And we're looking at what happens if there's like an apocalyptic extinction level event and everything goes to hell in a handbasket, right? So this one, first of all, and it talks about how TANGEM wallet sends transactions. So if we're on the Bitcoin network or on the Ethereum network or everything else, there's some type of way that it interacts with the blockchain. If some APIs doesn't work, TANGEM app, there's a difference between the app itself and the actual blockchain, communicates with another one, and so on until it finds a working one. And this is only if it works. The app knows 3 to 5 APIs for each blockchain, so something catastrophic has to happen for a blockchain to be completely inaccessible. An extinction level event such as, the sun exploding or World War III or whatever. If this happens, I think we got more things to worry about than our Bitcoin balance, but yes. Once the APIs respond, the TANGEM app receives your signed transaction, which the API sends the right blockchain. Transaction is submitted to the new block, and soon you will see the balance reduced. No TANGEM servers are involved when sending and receiving crypto from and to your wallet. So there's 3 processes. Card validation. The app sends an encrypted message to the server upon the first activation. Server checks the message. It's okay. You can proceed with the wallet. The portfolio value. When the app displays your balance, interacts with the TANGEM server to determine the current exchange. And the token list, when you add a token to your home screen, the app sends the card and IDs to sync your server. What happens if the server, everything goes down, Rob? This is the big question. What if you don't have the app and it's all gone? Well, during this extinction level event or interstellar invasion by aliens, I know they're making a joke of it. It's real. The aliens can force them to destroy their companies and eliminate the App Store and Google Play app, but you don't have to worry. Earthmen can still have a reliable, secure, and convenient means of managing crypto, such as the TANGEM wallet, because the TANGEM wallet app is open source. That means that each app version is automatically published at GitHub, and you can download that from GitHub, which hopefully that doesn't go down, and use that to transfer your crypto to wherever you want to. And
run it on your compute portal home device.
Yeah, exactly, Jerry. Like that, just like that, right there in the background.
You like that? You like that? That very very, very ungraceful plug.
Yeah, ungraceful plug. So that was a long answer, but that's really what it comes down to. So hopefully I answered that. But if not, I'll link that that blog post. But if you do a Google search for TANGEM alien invasion, you'll find it. Let's see. Well, Window Washer says, Jerry could be right, but saying there's going to be no rate cut this year is kind of crazy on the fact it's a 90% chance right now. Just remember, though, that when we're taking a look at the CME here, yes, it says 90%, but if you take a look at historical and go through these numbers, you'll see that it fluctuates pretty wildly. And then sometimes when like we think it's going to be 90% or 95%, then there's some piece of news and it just flips everything and it goes from there. So when you're on cmegroup.com and you're taking a look at this, hit the historical and just go over and just see like how these numbers actually fluctuate as time has gone on for the different, as it pertains to that meeting, you know, or the July meeting or 18th of June meeting. It's kind of funny. All right. Gas fee says the ETH hype is very suspicious. Theta network is not ready to handle the amount of load these Wall Street guys claim. I have to agree, but we'll see. Here we go. Resist asks, that's a good question for Jerry too. Did you collect your midnight tokens? You just sent a message hashing the ledger. ADA is never at risk. Jerry, have you done this already?
I have. I was only able to do my actual ADA wallet. That is not part of anything inside my Treasure. I have not been able to claim the things that are outside of my Treasure wallet, which was I have one ADA wallet that was eligible and one XRP wallet. I was able to do the ADA wallet because it's lace, very easy. The Bifrost wallet for XRP, not so much. I haven't been able to get my little claim voucher yet for that. I'm working on it.
Yeah, and to me, I've decided to opt out of that one. I just don't want to deal with it. And people are like, why don't? And I don't know why people are upset with me about not claiming tokens. If I don't claim the tokens, you understand that goes back to the community, right? So if I don't claim them, I've already done videos about it. I show you where to, go watch Cardano with Paul, or go watch Big Pay. They got great videos and they show you how to do everything and all the troubleshooting, everything else. But if I don't claim them, they go back to, I guess, the treasury or whatever it is. And then later on, everybody who wants to claim it can take mine. And I'm just going to give it to the community. I just don't want to connect to anything. I don't want to deal with it. I just don't want to do it. So that's my right.
Yes.
Yes. Bitcoin liquidity supply reached all-time high. Oh, that's good. Any thoughts about TON? Yeah, I think it's massively underperformed. I don't understand how a platform with 1 billion plus monthly users is not in the top 10. It boggles my mind how they dropped the ball, and I don't know what happened. Maybe it's because Pavel Durov, who was the creator, was arrested in France. And I think I don't know if he's still being detained in France, but it really sent a shockwave to the price of TON. And it's like nobody wanted to build on it because they thought that everybody's going to shut it down. I'm like, that's the whole point of decentralization. You don't need some guy who created it. He's just some guy. And it makes me mad because I'm like, damn it, how could that thing not do well? But it goes to show you get 1 billion people and like, here's our token.
Well, what I have from day one, I've said, when a project can have an application that serves 1 billion people, it is by far is going to have arrived. It will be unkillable, right? Yeah. And TON just showed me that that's not the case at all. And I think one of the elements we have to understand is that this is not integral to the use of the app. You don't need this. I don't use TON, and I have all kinds of these groups that I'm interacting, communicating with all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, you think like you have all the people that would want to use it because then it's all there and available, and people just like, I don't need it. And even like on Telegram, what we're talking about Telegram is people use that to stay in touch. There's I think they have video conferences. They also have apps on their app. I mean, like mini apps within the app, and I thought it was pretty cool. But people are like, we don't need it, and it just goes to show you that the market will decide which one the winner is. And it looks like so far, TON is ranked number 30. I think it reached as high as, I think, in the top 20, but it keeps slowly moving down. I don't know what they have to do, but whatever it is, it's not happening. Okay. And then Plato says, a product that can serve 1 billion people. I'm thinking ice cream, slippers, condoms. Tell everyone that on my mind at the moment. Yeah. If you had a blockchain on ice cream, that'd be great.
Sunday swap.
Sunday swap. Yeah, exactly. Yesterday, I saw that ADA 1-year return is higher than Bitcoin. Is that right? It might be. Let's take a look.
When we had the whole 2022 contraction of the market, Cardano took just a beating.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, as far as Bitcoin goes, over 1 year, it's up 103%, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll take that. I think everybody would like that. And then, number 11, I think. But then look at that. 1 year for Cardano, 155%.
Not bad.
Not bad. Let's see. What happened? Oh, because it was 30 cents. That's why. And then shot up like $1.23. It's pretty good. And now we're down to 82 cents. I'll still take it. See? Well, good point. Looks like Hypercycle has compute that just started. How about that?
You betcha. You betcha. The tranches are open. So if you folks are holding Hypercycle and you get your node factories on ETH, go get yourself connected to the HyperPG DApp, right? D.A.N. HyperPG HYPERPG.
Elemental P. Yes, exactly.
And get yourself signed up and get yourself in. Revenue clients are coming on board. It's going to be slow at first. Please don't temper your expectations. But yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff.
Good stuff. Then lastly, Plato asks, does Jerry have a YouTube channel we can support?
I do. It's at Jerry V Hall on YouTube. I don't post a lot there and haven't, especially since joining forces with Rob here. But you can find, I did a lot of videos where I interviewed people and got a lot of insights. And it was kind of like how it was me creating content around my learning journey. I strongly suggest anybody do the same.
Yeah. And Jerry, when you do the next video, I'll post your YouTube channel. But there is a link in the description for Jerry V Hall and his X account. You can follow him over there. And then I'm sure Jerry at some point will put in his YouTube channel.
I will.
Oh, look at this.
Yeah, compute. We're building the marketplace for compute, kind of like the Amazon of compute for buyers and sellers.
Interesting. All right. I think that's it. I think we answered everybody's questions. Well, everybody, again, thanks so much for hanging out with me and Jerry for almost an hour, about 48 minutes or so. But that's it for this Sunday. So everybody, like and subscribe on your way out. We appreciate you, and we'll see you guys in a week. Have a great rest of your weekend. Adios.